Well, good morning. Welcome as we continue our chronological read through of Scripture. When we left Jacob yesterday, Jacob had begun raising his family with Leah and Rachel and their two maidservants. God had opened Leah's womb. She'd given Jacob 4 sons in quick order. But Jacob did not love Leah as he loved Rachel. Matter of fact, you can almost get the feeling that Jacob may have even resented her a little bit and the deceit that she represented. Rachel very much envied Leah because Leah had been able to give Jacob sons and Rachel was unable to conceive. So at one point, Rachel decided to take matters into her own hands in a rather familiar way. She gave Jacob her maidservant Bilhah to bear a son for her. After 4 sons, Leah soon was unable to conceive herself. So she gave her maidservant Zilpah to Jacob as well, and she bore yet 2 more sons for Jacob. This competition goes on, yet still Rachel remains barren. Even mandrake roots are brought into the mix. Mandrake roots were used in those days to make perfume, and they were believed to have aphrodisiac qualities and fertility powers. Rachel wasn't going to leave any stone unturned when it came to trying to give to Jacob a son. But you know what? No amount of manipulation and human intervention provides the answer. It's only God who can answer her plea. And at long last, Rachel does bear a son for Jacob, and she names him Joseph. Now, Jacob had fulfilled his obligation to Laban. He worked 7 years for Leah, then he worked yet another 7 years for Rachel. He has 11 sons and a daughter, Dinah. He asked Laban to let him go home to his family. But Laban prevails on Jacob to continue to work for him. Jacob's wages are now to be the speckled and the spotted lambs and the speckled and the spotted and black sheep. No sooner is that deal cut before Jacob can even get to the flocks than Laban has his sons remove all of the speckled and spotted and black sheep from the herds to a place far away, cheating Jacob once again. But God blesses Jacob, who acts shrewdly and honestly, prospering the herds, and that makes Jacob very, very wealthy and very strong. As that goes on, the attitude of Laban and his sons towards Jacob turns sour because Jacob's wealth and his power continues to increase. Not willing to ask Laban again, Jacob now schemes to secretly leave with all that he has to return to his father's home. 3 days after he leaves, Laban finds out, and he begins to pursue Jacob in great anger. But God tells Laban on the way to be careful in his dealings with Jacob, to say nothing whether good or bad to him. When Laban finally catches up with Jacob, he accuses Jacob of stealing his family, and Laban disingenuously says that he would have wanted to send them away with a grand party if he had just asked. He acknowledges that Jacob longs to return to his father's house. He understands that, but then he wonders why Jacob has stolen the household gods. Well, Jacob doesn't know anything about the household gods being stolen. He tells Laban that he was afraid that Laban wouldn't let him take his family with him, that he'd just send them off alone. And Jacob doesn't know that it's actually Rachel who had taken Laban's household gods. So he denies that he has them, and he tells Laban, go ahead and search wherever you want. Well, Laban does search, and Rachel does successfully avoid detection of those gods which she is sitting on, those statues and statuettes. And Jacob and Laban then strike a covenant between the two of them, a covenant of peace. In the morning, Laban and Jacob go their separate ways. As we leave Jacob and Laban today, we see that deception leads to more deception, which leads to dispute, and even in this case, to the threat of open warfare. Yet God steps in and he works everything to his purpose. It's amazing that God works through such flawed individuals. If he can work through the deception and the pettiness and the jealousies and the competition of Jacob and Leah and Laban and Leah and Rachel, he can work through us and our flaws as well. May God be with you, bless you. Look forward to gathering with you again tomorrow as we move on to the next couple of chapters. I will see you then.